Our talk today continues from A Wanderer's Handbook, and now we shall speak of the subject of harvest on planet Earth. Harvest is a trigger word for a lot of New Age personalities across a wide range of orientation. I feel there are two harvests going on in the earth world today, a harvest of its peoples and a harvest of the planet itself. This sense of living in a time of accumulation or completion is very common among wanderers. Confederation entities have talked about cycles of time within which the planetary population has the opportunity to learn the lessons of love that make up the curriculum of the Earth School of Hard Knocks. According to them, we are at the end of a minor cycle of 25,000 years, roughly, and also at the end of a major cycle of 75,000 years. There is a harvest of souls possible at the end of each of the three minor cycles within a major cycle. But Earth's first two minor harvests have not happened except for a tiny few who were able to graduate, and so all those incarnate at this time are living in a time of mandatory major harvest. Some will graduate and move on to further lessons. Some will repeat this grade or density of the school, as their lessons have not yet been learned. Here, two wanderers share their sense of harvests. I know that the times I have prepared for are at hand. I know the two of us are undergoing a profound and gradual transformation, guided by and sourced from a higher level of reality. It is clear to me that the only thing to do is perfect my ability to surrender to Spirit and to do whatever I am asked to do with my whole heart. I feel very excited by being here at this time in Earth's history. I really don't know what each day brings, but I have a sense of being here for a reason. I need to help and guide, and I feel that all I've done and experienced has led me to this place now. Ready for what? I'm not sure. It is refreshing to hear the very excited Jamie, a charming woman who describes herself as a star child, say that she's not sure what is coming. So many people have set ideas, and my feeling is that all of the timetables are probably wrong. It's hard to realize from the earthbound perspective how foreshortened time itself is when seen from the metaphysical universe. Truly is it said that 1,000 ages in his sight are but a moment gone. I feel quite certain that metaphysical processes are indeed occurring, but that they will be far more subtle and take place over a far longer period of time than is generally thought by those keen on bringing in this new age. In orienting us to my version of what's happening in this harvest, I begin with the concept of seniority by vibration. I feel that each person on Earth today has achieved an incarnation at this time because each has the capacity to achieve a successful graduation. Those of QO state, There has been a radical upswing, shall we say, in awakening souls. It is for this reason that some within this group choose incarnation upon this sphere at this time. This is indeed an harvest season for those entities who now dance the dance of third density. This is a time when each of those who has been allowed to incarnate has the possibility of graduating into the next density at the end of this incarnation. The line to get into the physical third density planet Earth atmosphere is a long one, for the need here is great at this time. So, how does one judge seniority of vibration? Don asked those of Ra. Questioner, would the red ray, an intense red ray, then be used as an index for seniority in incarnation as well as an intense violet ray? I am Ra. This is partially correct. In the graduation, or harvesting to fourth density positive, the red ray is seen only as that which, being activated, is the basis for all that occurs in vibratory levels, the sum of this being violet ray energy. This violet ray is the only consideration for fourth density positive. In assessing the harvestable fourth density negative, the intensity of the red, as well as the orange and the yellow rays, is looked upon quite carefully, as a great deal of stamina and energy of this type is necessary for the negative progression, it being extremely difficult to open the gateway to intelligent infinity from the solar plexus center. This is necessary for harvest and fourth density negative. The concept of a mixed harvest is central, for that is what we are having, with some few souls now able to graduate from this density in the positive or service to others sense, and some, even fewer, souls graduating in the negative sense, service to self. There is still time for people not quite sufficiently polarized to achieve adequate polarization to make the grade. And at present, the earth is populated by those who have won the right to live a life now because it is within their reach to do it. Many of those who are seeking at this time are those who have, by seniority of vibration, been given the opportunity of incarnating at a time when both the positive polarity and the negative polarity are attempting to increase the intensity of their distortions towards service to others for the positive entities and service to self for the negatively polarizing entities. We certainly have interesting catalysts these days, and all to prepare us for something called harvest. A more clear term for it, I feel, is graduation. We are in the third density. Call it the third grade. We may have wandered here from a position in late third, fourth, fifth, or sixth grade. But when we incarnated here, we all became third graders again. And we shall join all Earth natives in having to pass this third density graduation in order to leave third density at the end of this incarnation. Now, what are the requirements of this graduation of souls at harvest on planet Earth? The first requirement sounds simple enough. We need to be thinking about service to others more than half the time. It is necessary that the student have the persistent desire to be of service to others in excess of 51 percentile in order that this student might be able to withstand the more intense light emanations that are the normal boundaries or givens, shall we say, of the fourth density experience. This 51% rule, let's call it, applies to those who are on the service to others or positive path. For those with a less stringently literal and scientific bent, we would say that the rule is to think of others more than ourselves. For those who are on the service to self or negative path, the requirements are different. As Ross states, the entity who wishes to pursue the path of service to self must attain a grade of 5. That is, 5% service to others, 95% service to self. It must approach totality. The negative path is quite difficult to attain harvestability upon and requires great dedication. Questioner: why is the negative path so much more difficult to attain harvestability upon than the positive? I am Ra. This is due to a distortion of the law of one, which indicates that the gateway to intelligent infinity be a gateway at the end of a straight and narrow path, as you may call it. To attain 51% dedication to the welfare of other selves is as difficult as attaining a grade of 5% dedication to other selves. The, shall we say, sinkhole of indifference is between those two. So, positively polarized people need to reach 51% service to others, whereas negatively polarized people need to reach a grade of 95 service to self. We may see here the action of polarity, with one's will very important in keeping the self focused upon one's goals within the daily life. It is in this focus that so many people remain distracted or sleeping during this momentous time. Even the keenest among us may sometimes rest in what those of Ra call the sinkhole of indifference, where we are doing a great deed, then a selfish one, then a good one again, back and forth, never getting off dead center and starting that swing of intent and focus to one or the other pole of love of and service to others or self. To polarize, we need to choose again and again to serve others at the expense of the self for the path of service to others or radiation, or to manipulate and control others for benefit to the self for the path of service to self or magnetism. Next, the usual requirement is that graduation or harvest take place after the death of the physical body. The end times are not drawing near. The end times have well begun, and they shall continue for many of your years to come. It is impossible to tell you, even if we could, when the transition will be complete. We can tell you that it shall be non-dramatic, that those who are harvested shall be harvested as their natural lifetime of incarnational lessons draws to a close. Although it is extremely rare, there is very occasionally a special soul who achieves graduation while in incarnation. But the chance to leave the earth plane and advance alone is almost never taken. Questioner, you stated at an earlier time that penetration of the 8th level, or intelligent infinity, allows a mind-body-spirit complex to be harvested if it wishes at any time-space during the cycle. When this penetration of the 8th level occurs, what does the entity who penetrates it experience? I am Ra. The experience of each entity is unique in its perception of intelligent infinity. Perceptions range from a limitless joy to a strong dedication to service to others while in the incarnated state. The entity which reaches intelligent infinity most often will perceive this experience as unspeakable profundity. However, it is not usual for the entity to immediately desire the cessation of the incarnation. Rather, the desire to communicate or use this experience to aid others is extremely strong. Now, the last requirement for harvest or graduation is, surprisingly perhaps, knowing that one does not know anything. Questioner, I am assuming that it is not necessary for an individual to understand the law of one to go from the 3rd to the 4th density. Is this correct? I am Ra. It is absolutely necessary that an entity consciously realize it does not understand in order for it to be harvestable. Understanding is not of this density. It then occurred to Dawn to ask how usual it is for a harvest to be mixed. Questioner, how common in the universe is a mixed harvest from a planet of both positively and negatively oriented mind-body-spirit complexes? I am Ra. Among planetary harvests which yield a harvest of mind-body-spirit complexes, approximately 10% are negative, approximately 60% are positive, and approximately 30% are mixed, with nearly all harvests being positive. In the event of mixed harvest, it is almost unknown for the majority of the harvest to be negative. When a planet moves strongly towards the negative, there is almost no opportunity for harvestable positive polarization. So there we have it. About 1 in 3 harvests is mixed as ours is now. We are not as weird as some may feel. Harvest, as far as I have been able to determine, takes place after the physical death. Just how does that work? Those of Ra say, those who, finishing a cycle of experience, demonstrates grades of distortion of that understanding of thought and action, will be separated by their own choice into the vibratory distortion most comfortable to their mind-body-spirit complexes. This process is guarded or watched by those nurturing beings who, being very close to the law of one in their distortions, nevertheless move towards active service. Thus, the illusion is created of light, or more properly, but less understandably, light love. This is in varying degrees of intensity. The spiritual complex of each harvested entity moves along the line of light until the light grows too glaring, at which time the entity stops. This entity may have barely reached third density or may be very, very close to the ending of the third density light love distortion vibratory complex. Nevertheless, those who fall within this octave of intensifying light love then experience a major cycle during which there are opportunities for the discovery of the distortions which are inherent in each entity, and therefore the lessening of these distortions. So we're speaking after death. Some say the tunnel of light, the line of light, or proper place of love light is something I have come to call the steps of light. It is easier for me to visualize the process this way. I can see walking into the light that grows ever dense and more light-filled until the glare stops me. I just hope that fullest light I am able to welcome when I walk the steps of light is that of my home density. Now, for the other harvest, the harvest of the planet, Earth, Terra, or Gaia. How does this planetary harvest work? Don asks Ra. Questioner, how does a third density planet become a fourth density planet? I am Ra. The fourth density is, as we have said, as regularized in its approach as the striking of a clock upon the hour. The space-time of your solar system has enabled this planetary sphere to spiral into space-time of a different vibrational configuration. This causes the planetary sphere to be able to be molded by these new distortions. However, the thought forms of your people during this transition period are such that the mind-body-spirit complexes of both individual and societies are scattered throughout the spectrum, instead of becoming able to grasp the needle, shall we say, and point the compass in one direction. Thus, the entry into the vibration of love, sometimes called by your people the vibration of understanding, is not effective with your present societal complex. Thus, the harvest shall be such that many will repeat the third density cycle. The energies of your wanderers, your teachers, and your adepts at this time are all bent upon increasing the harvest. However, there are few to harvest. So obviously our planet is having trouble being born into fourth density time-space and space-time. Hence the many catastrophes as the planet attempts to balance itself. The Confederation feels that we are basically in fourth density space-time already, that it has been moving into it as a solar system for some time. We cannot see this with our third density senses. When this process is completed in a century or 3, what will Earth be? Questioner, On this planet, after the harvest is complete, will fourth density beings be incarnate on the surface as we know it now? I am Ra. The possibility vortexes indicate this to be a most likely. Did you know some few souls are already incarnating in fourth density bodies? Questioner, would the purpose in transitioning to Earth prior to the complete changeover then be for the experience to be gained here before the harvesting process? I am Ra. This is correct. These entities are not wanderers in the sense that this planetary sphere is their fourth density home planet. However, the experience of this service is earned only by those harvested third density entities which have demonstrated a great deal of orientation towards service to others. It is a privilege to be allowed this early an incarnation as there is much experiential catalyst in service to other selves at this harvesting. So we have early souls pioneering fourth density, but will fourth density take over from third density? Not on this earth plane. Those of Ra clarify. Questioner, at present we have, in third density incarnation on this plane, those third density entities of the planet Earth who have been here for some number of incarnations, who will graduate in the three-way split, positive polarity remaining for fourth density experience on this planet, the negative polarity harvestable going to another planet, and the rest of unharvestable third density going to yet another third density planet. In addition to these entities, I am assuming that we have here some entities already harvestable from other third density planets who have come here and have incarnated in third density form to make the transition with this planet into fourth density, plus wanderers. Is this correct? I am Ra. This is correct, except we may note a small point. The positively oriented harvested entities will remain in this planetary influence, but not upon this plane. Okay, for us third density folks who are working towards harvest, what are our aims? The first and central one is to be. Those of the Confederation talk about this challenging concept. During the incarnation, it is well if one attempts to be oneself. To be that pattern, to be that choice, to be true to the self. For the self to which you are true is the greater self, the higher self that has laid the path before you in a fashion which allows for the free will interpretation of many, many details, and yet which assures each entity that the path has been laid and laid clearly. Two wanderers talk about being. For me, it is about balance. Yes, the potential for any number of disasters or disastrous events is there, and quite probable. And yes, our time on this planet is growing shorter. All the more reason to be and not react. Follow your own heart. If you are led to help with the harvest, help with the harvest. If you believe you will be here after the harvest, be here after the harvest. If you believe Jesus Christ is coming again, look for the coming. If you know that ETs are trying to contact us, listen for the message. Just be who you are and know that no matter how unique or alienated you may feel, you are not alone. And just be, and the rest will take care of itself. Being is a hard thing for us to think about because of our doing mentally, the work ethic of our culture. But once we are able to see the task clearly, the way is open for our efforts. Another worthy aim for those working towards graduation is oneness with the heart of the self and creator. As you enter this season of harvest, you know there is service to perform, and you wish to be about it. And we say to you that the way to serve the Creator at this time is to open the heart to the present moment and practice that precise oneness with the Creator. A central aim for those approaching harvest is polarizing. Each of you is capable within this lifetime of achieving a harvestable attitude towards love. That is, each of you is capable of caring more for another, for loving another, understanding another, comforting another, consoling another, forgiving another, more than each cares for being understood, or being loved, or being consoled, or being forgiven themselves. This sacrificial nature of love, when one spends more of one's time concerned with aiding others than one does concerning with aiding oneself, is a tremendously helpful way to move in polarization ever closer to the point where, when you do enter the larger life after the death of the animal which has carried you about, you shall be able to use the requisite amount of light from the infinite Creator. Those of Ra suggest that balance is an aim for those working on harvestability. Each mind-body-spirit complex has its own patterns of activation and its own rhythms of awakening. The important thing for harvest is the harmonious balance between the various energy centers of the mind-body-spirit complex. This is to be noted as of relative import. As your planet nears that which is called the harvest, the experiences of many shall be intensified, for as time for harvest grows short, the work in order to achieve harvest must be accomplished in a shorter time. When time is short, then intensity must replace the time that is no longer available. Great work in consciousness can be done in this short time that remains before the harvest of souls from your planet. There is, of course, the risk that the work shall be more difficult, yet there is the great opportunity to move forward in the process of evolution as has never been possible before upon this planet. I would like to note that another name for wanderers is harvesters. Our being here now has everything to do with the harvest. The overriding reason for the offering of these brothers and sisters of sorrow in incarnative states is the possibility of aiding other selves by the lightening of the planetary consciousness distortions, and the probability of offering catalysts to other selves which will increase the harvest. There are two other reasons for choosing this service which have to do with the self. The wanderer, if it remembers and dedicates itself to service, will polarize much more rapidly than is possible in the other realms or higher densities. The final reason is within the mind-body-spirit totality, or the social memory complex totality, which may judge that an entity or members of a societal entity can make use of the third density catalyst to replicate a learning teaching which is adjudged to be less than perfect. This especially applies to those entering into and proceeding through sixth density, wherein the balance between compassion and wisdom is perfected. The Confederation entities are here in thought to aid us at this time. We are those who come to your peoples at this time in hopes of being of service by providing information and opinion concerning spiritual evolution. It is our understanding that this present period which you now enjoy is part of a season of harvest or completion upon your earth world. In this time of transition to a more densely lit illusion, there is great opportunity, we feel, for entities who are seeking to accelerate their process of spiritual evolution to do so. We are those who wish to assist, as we may, those who request our opinion and presence. And with that said, blessings be, my brothers and sisters, in the love and in the light of our infinite Creator.